Digital Foundry, my friends, Digital Foundry. They've gotten exclusive access to Crimson Desert. Once more they did. Fact check true. It's true. They got it and they talked about it. And we're here to check it out. What did they find out?
Crimson Desert, one of the most promising games on the horizon, a game we've had our eyes on for quite some time. It's pushing some very impressive tech. And recently, we had a chance to look at some cool stuff. Specifically, Alex had a chance to look at some cool stuff, and he shared some of it with me here today. And we wanted to do a little preview on this game because, my goodness, this is some beautiful stuff. So, Alex.
Yeah, John, this is
real quick. I gotta hand it to Pearl Abyss, okay? Most games, it's easy to forget this, okay? But most games do not give outlets like Digital Foundry preview access to showcase the game's graphics and stuff before launch. You only typically see that with like the big boys that are really confident and really proud and have reason to show it off, right? Most games, the vast majority of games, we'll send them like a review code with a review embargo saying, yeah, when reviews go up, you can post your tech review. That's that. But they're actually going outside of their way to go to Digital Foundry specifically and try to hook them up with access, which is not that common. I mean, that's just not that common. There's a few big examples you can point to, but it's just not, again, you usually see it for like the big boys. You'll see Capcom do it if they're really proud of like Resident Evil 9's visuals. You'll see them do it with like a monster behemoth, like, I don't think even Nintendo does that now that I think about it, but you'll see it with like maybe Ghost of Yotei. I don't know if they did it there, but you'll see Sony do it sometimes. But even then it's like rare that they go this early with access, but they did.
a very fantastic looking game here, and I'm excited to talk to you about it.
A very fantastic looking game.
Looking to get your hands on a free Resident Evil Requiem PC game code?
Yes, tell me how.
MSI has the promotion for you. Purchase a select MSI gaming monitor or desktop PC, write a review on an eligible retail platform, register your product with MSI, submit your details, and the game code is yours up until the end of March or while stocks last.
That's genuinely kind of a cool promotion. I mean, that's just kind of cool. You get a free game by reviewing it and then connecting your info. That is kind of cool. MSI, call me.
Check out the video description below for eligible hardware, terms and conditions, and to
Yeah, I can turn them up. Got you, baby. I got you, baby. Ah, damn it. The browser keeps doing this. Hold on. Let me boosting volume, enhance. There we go. Yeah. So again, it is not that common for them to do this, to reach out. And already at the outset, they are quite positive. Let's see what they have to say.
Well, like, we don't normally do previews in this way, but I think this was a special circumstance, right?
Yeah, basically, I was invited to a preview event to do our own coverage and capture for this game that would have been held in Amsterdam, right about the time we're recording this right now. But as I talked about in DF Direct most recently, I do have a health issue with my back, so I'm trying not to move and do arduous adventures like that at the moment.
Fair.
And they, the Pearl Abyss, the publisher and developer of this game, were kind enough to provide us with footage that we could have made at that preview event. And they did.
Like, again, they're like, you have a back injury? Let us record it for you, send you all the stuff. Like, that's baller, dude. Again, they didn't have to. A lot of companies are just like, okay, well, sucks to suck. You don't get to come. You don't get to, okay, too bad. But like, no, they're actually going out of their way to record the footage for them, which is very, very nice.
Did it in a very special way. I basically asked them, hey, you know, when we go to a preview event, we don't just randomly do gameplay of games. We're big nerds, and we like to do like slow moving camera shots with the controller, like perfectly locked 60 FPS, basically looking at all the gameplay, not really, but more so the graphical techniques. And they answered the call, and they did a lot of really amazing footage for us to make this preview video in a style that DF would do. So thank you to the game. And they did it in a cool way where they gave us the exact specs and the system settings that the game is running at. The game
Okay, Kino, that's freaking funny. They had his back. Dude. That's good. That's good. Top comment so far.
Was running at, for this preview video footage you're seeing on screen right now, it was running on a AMD Ryzen 9 7900X 3D 12-core processor, a Radeon RX 7900 XTX, so the last gen top-end GPU from AMD, 32 gigabytes of RAM, and we did it with VSync on and FSR native. So this is 4K footage running.
Oh, baby. Okay, 4K native. Upscaling is just being used for anti-aliasing. Again, I cannot tell you how frequently we've seen in the last few years studios that at preview events and even like for reviews and like recommended specs have upscalers included in that, where they say, this is our recommended spec using DLSS at balanced mode and doing this, which means it's internally rendering down at like 1080p or whatever, upscaling all the way. Like they have it built into the specs of what they're targeting the upscalers. They're not doing that here. And this actually completely jives with what we found out when we had the one and only Will Powers on our stream. Let me see. I'm gonna have to search for it. Here we go. With Will Powers. This is a month ago. Okay, let me pull up the transcript. Upscaling. Let's see. This one is a question from Lance. He's asking, can you speak at all about the upscaling options that will be available in the game at launch?
Yeah. So we have great partners. I was just at CES, and I was a partner showcase in the AMD booth. So we're one of the very, very few games that's an FSR Redstone partner at launch. So we were that was originally FSR 5 or 4 that they renamed to Redstone in order to have for branding purposes. But there's regeneration. There's all sorts of technologies within FSR that we'll be taking full advantage of that you can turn on or off, as well as our friends over at NVIDIA. We have full DLSS support, or you can just turn everything off if you have the hardware to be able to to run at 4K.
To brute force it.
Yeah, basically brute forcing 4K. I will say this. I don't think I've said this officially. We're not frame capping. So there is no hard cap of we're doing frame limiting at 60 or something like that. If your system can support it, cool. Go ahead.
Which is important. The specific one I was wondering here, there's a point where he says it was specifically about native right here. The game is being optimized like natively, or is it being optimized with upscalers in mind?
Natively first and foremost. Okay. And then on top of that, because we're working directly with those partners to be able to do that. But those are being done in parallel, not priority of upscalers over native. Because if it doesn't work natively, then that's the foundation of the house. That you need a strong foundation for the upscalers to be able to build on top of. Which
is absolutely true. We've seen games where that was not the methodology and they did not work too good. Because the upscalers, like, all they're doing is lowering the render resolution so that you can, in theory, get better frame rates. The problem is, if your game, even when lowering the resolution, if it's still struggling to hit decent frame rates because it's not optimized around the CPU or memory pulls and loading stuff, if it's not optimized elsewhere, lowering the render resolution doesn't magically fix anything. It might help a little bit, but if your game is, like, even when lowering the resolution down to like 800p, if it's still only hitting like 20 frames because it's so poorly optimized, all of the DLSS upscaling and everything is just going to lead to it being a stuttery mess. It's going to have tons of input lag. It's going to feel really bad to play. And it also won't look very good because it's going to be upscaled from 800p or even lower. We've seen instances of upscaling from like 540p even on big AAA games. So it's not like you cannot just turn on an upscaler and expect it to magically work. Upscalers work particularly well when you have a strong foundation, like Will mentioned, and maybe you're hitting like 60 FPS or something. And when you upscale from there, it then is able to achieve like 90 frames. And because the base frame rate is still so good, you can actually avoid a lot of the latency issues and input delay issues that plague games that are not optimized for native rendering. So this is exactly what I would hope to hear. It's exactly what they should be saying, and it should be the standard, in my opinion, for AAA game development for everything. And the best example of this working was KCD2. It's the last time I can think of a big AAA game that very openly said we are optimizing for native rendering, and upscalers will just add to performance. But the game should be able to perform well even without using any of them. Snaps in agreement. Like, it's exactly what you would want to hear. So seeing that for this testing that Digital Foundry did, that they were rendering it at 4K natively and only using FSR for anti-aliasing, that's exactly what you would hope to hear. It's exactly what you would hope to hear. The below settings are the default settings for the Ultra preset. They say everything's on Ultra, ray tracing's on, lighting quality is high, blah, 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 running through all of this. And particle effects quality is at 100. I'll mention this again, even though I've mentioned it before. I just want to be clear because some people might not know. One of the common complaints in some of the early footage was that particle effects were crazy high. They actually listened to that feedback, added in a slider so that you can turn that down wherever you want it, even completely off. And Will on our stream mentioned that he thinks that should be present on console, but he couldn't confirm it 100%. But the point is, if you don't like all the particle effects, you can literally turn it down to 10% or 50% or off completely. They actually built that in.
Running at native 4K, and the game has presets going from minimum all the way up to cinematic with like low, medium, high, ultra in between them. And this was running on ultra. And so
there's a setting above this called cinematic, he said, that's even above this. So there's a setting even higher than what you're seeing.
Not the highest settings you can run at, but it's still, 4K native on technically what is a last gen GPU. And it looks like this and it runs like this, mainly at 60. Some scenes are a little bit lower, but this is obviously work in progress build at ultra high settings at native 4K, but it's running pretty darn well. Definitely running quite differently than a lot of Unreal Engine games would run at native 4K, I'd say.
That is a nice way of putting it. Running quite differently. Quite differently. I'm going to be real. I cannot think, just based on even on this frame, you're telling me this is rendering native 4K on a last gen GPU on ultra settings, and it looks like this, and it's running on a last gen GPU at like 60 frames. That's crazy. Pretty much this whole gen, we don't see AAA stuff launching around like native rendering. It's very impressive.
For sure. And man, while you're laying this out, I'm just looking at the footage here and just the visual quality, man. Like sometimes when you see just the right visuals, you almost like get a similar feeling to exploring a place in real life.
Yes.
Like you feel like an emotion just seeing the scenery. And there's something about the color use and the way everything moves and just behaves that makes this feel just sublime. And I'm super interested to check it out because this is actually
even this shot is just kind of wild, because I remember seeing a comment from somebody. They're like, I don't think I've seen a game, an open world game quite like this that's, doesn't have like a very specific art style, like a Breath of the Wild or something. And it's for a good reason. Most games do not try to develop around sweeping vistas like this for good reason, because it's hard. It's hard to render all of this stuff. It's why you'll play a game like even The Witcher 3 to a certain extent, and you don't typically have massive lines of sight in most areas of the map. You'll occasionally get it if you go like south of I think it's south of the swamp where the bogs are. I think that there's a way you can get up pretty high and you can see a pretty big vista. Of course, Kaer Morhen you can see pretty far, but that's also very specifically set up in that way. It's not like you can just freely explore there in that area. But the point is, it's not something that you typically see because it's hard to do. It's hard to render all of these details, especially when you're like, yeah, all of this stuff you're seeing, you can go there. You can go down to this castle and explore each of these buildings. You can go to this tower and see what's over there. There's a fort over here. You can barely make it out. There seems to be maybe a village up here with some buildings that you can sort of make out. As we go over here, you can see that there's also this mountain peak. There's other structures up there that you can probably go explore. There's some sort of tower right there you can see. There's this one that you can see. Their whole goal is to start to pique your interest with all of these little bitty things scattered around the map. And again, to hear that they're able to hit these at solid frame rates, not on a 5090, you just don't see that very often.
Very big single player open world game, right?
Yeah, it's kind of an RPG, open world, systemic design, I would say, based upon everything I've seen so far and what I played a little bit at the Consumer Electronics Show. Time of day, all the time, sun going up and down, varying cloud weather and varying weather, varying locations and biome types, a lot of outdoor locations too, because it's kind of got this medieval magic aesthetic, but also there's cities and towns with a lot of indoor areas. It does remind me a bit of Dragon's Dogma 2 in terms of just the world design, but I think this is maybe
hopefully in all the good ways and not the bad ways, because Dragon's Dogma 2, if you'll remember, ran like hot donkey ass when you entered cities specifically. It was crazy because like if this was in Dragon's Dogma 2, it was literally you're walking around over here at like 70 frames. You step through the threshold where it starts simulating NPCs and just nosedive. I mean, it was like bad. Like bad. But yeah, Dragon's Dogma 2 notably, thank you for letting me know, by the way, Shiro, thank you. Dragon's Dogma 2 notably, the moment you entered cities, performance tanked and nosedived. But what I will say, I still liked Dragon's Dogma 2. I understand that a lot of people were disappointed by it. It was a game that really did not hold your hand and was not apologetic about it at all. But I really liked what they did. It was far from perfect, but I had a good time with it. It's just the performance sucked donkey ass. It was really too bad, but anyway. So yeah, the comparisons to Dragon's Dogma, I've heard other people bring up as well. And I hopefully it's just the good parts, not the bad parts.
Even a little bit larger in scope. Like I said, the game does focus a lot on systemic aspects, which does give me Breath of the Wild feels, and is powered by an engine that is unique to Pearl Abyss called the Black Space Engine, which is a pretty brutal name.
I love that name, actually, and I love, of course, seeing an in-house engine like this. Honestly, looking at this footage and thinking about how things usually go for us, I would not be surprised to see our Game of the Year thing come out to Crimson Desert versus Resident Evil Requiem, and then you end up arguing.
Dude, he's already talking about it being in the running for their Game of the Year discussions based on their preview, which is impressive. It's also, the rain looks crazy good.
And come out to Crimson Desert.
And night actually looks like night. What is this? What is this? It's crazy. It's crazy. It looks very good. I can see why they're so excited by it. I can see. Let's continue.
Versus Resident Evil Requiem, and then you end up arguing that this should win, and
because
then
I like
wins.
systemic design.
Like, let's find out. Like, maybe that won't happen, but I feel like based on our previous histories, like there's a good chance that something like that might happen.
Yeah, this is kind of a game that's right up DF's alley because it does a lot of special stuff, and I do think the developers, this game will be releasing simultaneously on console, and we'll be having coverage of a PC review. We're going to have an interview with the tech developers behind the game that will go up on the website, hopefully by the PC review date. And, we're going to be covering this game because it is probably one of the biggest PC releases this year that, at least the ones that have, firm release dates at the moment. Obviously, these things can change. Who knows what this industry does? But like I said, it's a very PC-like game due to that kind of structure as well as the technological design behind the game. And there's a lot of really cool things that it's doing. So as I mentioned earlier, open world systemic. And a big part of that is the changing time of day. And we have confirmation from Pearl Abyss here, actually, that the game does use ray traced diffuse GI. And you can see that pretty much in every single scene in the game, whether that be outdoor, or indoors, and it does appear to be a per pixel effect. So it doesn't seem to be based upon like only probes like we've seen in other games, which is a way to, you know, save on performance. This game does target per pixel. Although I would say for this footage, since it isn't the ultimate highest settings the game is, perhaps it can be even higher quality than we're seeing here. But one thing you'll notice is that, like, if you're in an indoor area, like this almost church looking area, when the sunlight streams into there, or even just the sky lighting, it bounces around the room, giving nooks and crannies a darkness to them. And any of the areas where the sunlight is adjacent to them, it's all brightened up. And
this is one of those, I think this is one element to be like aware of. You'll see, this is also something I saw in Resident Evil Requiem as well. A lot of games that are doing ray trace lighting now, global illumination stuff, you'll start to see that in the center of the screen, where your eyes typically are, looks really, really solid. It's along the edges where you'll start to see some stranger behaviors as the rays start to be, you know, calculated and reconstructed, if you have that turned on, where you'll start to see this kind of like, I mean, you can see it like on the very edge, it's not illuminated quite yet, and then it fills in and balances. It's a very common thing you'll start to see, and you see it all over the place in like RE Requiem, it has it too in certain areas. So like, it's one of those things in footage like this where you can see it if you're looking for it. But you got to remember, when you're playing a video game, your eyes are not, they shouldn't be, on the edges. They tend to be in the center. It's something that I try to be cognizant of, because when I watch these types of videos, I see this stuff, it stands out to me, I pick up on it, but it's one of those things when you're playing the game, you don't notice, which is why they balance it by focusing all the effort rendering in here, and then these little artifacts and things show up on the outsides. But when you're actually playing the game, you're not going to notice it. And so I don't want to like be like, oh, look, I spotted something, because it's just not going to affect you at all when you're playing the game, you know?
It's all brightened up, and they provided some
then you're playing the game wrong. Do you play it like one of those CSGO pros? You've seen where they pull the monitor straight up to their face for like quick reaction times or whatever. They just use their peripheral vision. Do you just turn the monitor sideways so you're just looking one eye at the one edge of it? It's like, what are you doing? I'm playing a game, Mom. Leave me alone.
Very cool time of day lapse footage here.
Oh, wow. Look at this.
Yeah. Of these indoor areas where you can see basically how dramatic the outside weather conditions affect the lighting of an indoor area, which makes sense for like these medieval structures. And then as nighttime rolls around, you can see that GI contribution, that diffuse contribution, also applies to local things like torches, sconces, and whatnot, which isn't a given because some games have only had like GI, you know, coming from the sun or the moon, but here it does apply apparently to all lights, and it's pretty great looking. It reminds me a lot visually of the stuff that we saw in the massive Snowdrop engine games, the most recent ones like Avatar, Frontiers of Pandora, and Star Wars Outlaws. It really does give me that look.
Yeah.
It looks really great. And one of my favorite parts of it, though, is that, and now this is also an artistic thing as well as a tech thing, but when you get to nighttime, the game actually is super dark.
It's dark.
It's a pet peeve of mine in games.
Dude, the rain does look crazy good. That looks crazy good.
Makes sense with the Dragon's Dogma reference earlier then, right? Yeah, that was one thing that always did well. Cool. All right, so we have ray traced diffuse GI. What other ray tracing do we have?
Well, it appears the game does use ray traced reflections. I saw that at the CES preview that I had there at the AMD booth, as well as here in the footage that they've kindly provided. They have a number of shots. One, any of the water you see in the game, the standing water, pretty obvious RT reflection contribution there. It seems to be a mix of screen space, depending upon the element on screen, and the distance with an RT reflection pass. And then there's an indoor shot here of like all these people crowded around what looks like tables eating. And there, the time of day is changing, but if you look at the ground, there's some like polished marble, it appears to be, and you can get a really good sense both of the RTGI diffuse contribution to the scene as well as the really nice looking RT reflections here. So it's not very typical to have games that have like medieval aesthetics to have RT reflections, like Dragon's Dogma 2 didn't include them. But here, you know, there's enough shiny stuff lying around that they thought it was a good enough thing to add in. And that does kind of actually rival stuff like you see with Lumen, where Lumen does both diffuse lighting and reflections, and their system does the same thing here too. But obviously we're seeing the game run at native 4K on an RX 7900 XTX last gen AMD GPU targeting 60 FPS, and that's something that you really wouldn't get out of a UE5 title. So I'm impressed at the fact that ray tracing is running this well on an older AMD GPU.
That's awesome.
It's actually running well. What is this? Seeing their water simulation stuff just makes me wish they would also make a pirate game. I keep saying it. I sound like a broken record. I know. Dude, a massive open world pirate game with like actual water sim, ship sailing. Dude, I would freaking love it. Dude.
What else is awesome though, going through your footage before, I think the thing that really stood out to me the most actually is the way they handle water, because usually when you have like streams of water, you know, water.
Bingo? Is that a bingo? Are you guys actually doing the bingo? Are you actually doing the bingo? Did I just accidentally do a bingo? I did say I love me some pirate games. Which one? Which is the bingo? I did. Okay, we did mention this. Professional streamer. Did I talk about Todd today? Did I? Brain rot for 20 minutes. That's fair. Pretty close. I'm gonna be a dad. I did mention that. I don't think anybody featured me today. Dude, this is so cursed. Okay, not yet. Okay, we're getting there. Okay, give me time. I'll get you there. We'll get there. Trust and believe. Okay. Continuing.
Lapping up on shore. It was just a lot of like 2D effects, texture effects, particles, things like that to give you the impression of water like moving and like changing across the shore. But here they seem to have come up with some sort of like 3D displacement system for the waves, where like it's like a physical body that washes up and recedes on shore, right?
Yeah, it appears to. One thing, a lot of games, they do have like a 3D deformation in some other games, but it's based upon just height only, right?
Right.
And here it appears that the water also has at least the concept of it in what it's calculating also has a sense that it needs to fill space. So that means the down and below and back and behind it. So it's not just an up-down motion, but it can go backwards upon itself, which is a pretty rare thing. That's usually been faked in games with just
exactly.
like, some sort of...
Yeah, I can't think of another game that has water that looks that good. Like it's actually crashing. Like they're saying the water then spills back, just like actual waves do. I can't think of another game. Does anybody know of a game with water that looks that good? Does anybody know? I can't think of one. But Luke, you can play Skull and Bones, the very first quadruple A game. I can do that. I'm not going to, but I could. I don't think anyone else is either. They do have an update. I don't know if it actually already came out yet. This says a lot. I can't think of another, they did have an update coming where you could, they were adding like land combat, but I don't think that's even done yet. I'm not sure if that's out yet. I'm not sure. Starfield? Oh, I'm going to go out on a limb and say no. Sea of Thieves has much better like rolling waves out at sea, but I don't think even their waves are doing this kind of thing. Like, I don't think so. Because like, I'm specifically looking at the water like on land. Because I don't think the water on the land or out at sea looks great. It looks fantastic. I love it. But I don't think the water on land, like the beaches, works the same way. Show me just getting close to land. I don't think I've ever seen, when you get close to islands, it levels out and is like way calmer. So I don't think it's even on that level. Windrose looks cool. Like it looks good. I don't think it's quite, let's see, turn the camera. Yeah, it's the same thing. It like gets really calm. So they don't have to simulate that stuff when you get up to the surface. So they'll do like these rolling waves in. That looks good. Like it looks good, but then it gets really flat and calm right as you get up to the surface of the beach, which it makes sense. Like it's very difficult to render and calculate something like this. So I get it. But Yeah, I've never seen stuff like this before in a game. Eric Branke, thank you for the 10. It's old, but give Sid Meier's Pirates a shot. I grew up playing it on PC and Xbox once again. It's old, but pirate vibes are high. Yes, I actually got that specifically because I was literally Googling pirate games, like best pirate games ever made and stuff. I was trying to get a fix, and I found that one. I've not booted it up yet, but I did like just a few weeks ago. I looked that up and found that. I'd heard about it, but I was like, you know what? No, I need to do this. And now I'm reminding myself that I bought that and I need to do that. So yes, thank you for the reminder. I will check it out. Thank you, my friend.
Baked effect or some baked geometry that appears when something gets to the shore. And here you can actually see
that pirate software joke was good. I saw it. That's funny.
There's a number of shots here of the shore, but you can see it just like hitting against rocks and receding back down on itself, which is really awesome looking. And they use it for multiple, not just like the ocean style water or the seas in the game, but also it appears to be covering streams and rivers. And there it allows for pretty natural looking falling water, which once again, usually for most games, that would be something you'd have to like, I wouldn't say fake it, but it would be more like an artist driven thing instead of just systemically being as a part of how the water functions without much interaction.
Dude, even it's like the little bitty details. Like they even have weeds and stuff growing in these cracks of the boulders. I know it's all procedural and like obviously nobody hand placed it there, but that little attention to detail just goes a long way. A lot of games like it's rock, it's just rock, that's it. But like the little details really do add up and make it feel more lively.
That interaction also includes stuff from like your character or physicalized objects. And that's another thing that I kind of liked about this game. It's not fully present in the footage I've been provided here, but I saw it at the CES event, is that there's a lot of destruction in the game, and you'll see the character here going into the water and smashing like, what do you call them? Tree stumps?
Exactly.
Log, trunk, tree stumps.
And the game's trees and vegetation.
Wait, what's that? I don't think we've seen this city before, or this village, all red wood. It's all painted red. I don't know if we've seen that before. It's like a little coastal, maybe a river village or something. I don't think we've seen that before. I haven't noticed that before.
Is very destructible, which is pretty cool. And there's probably more destructible stuff that I haven't even seen yet. But when I play this game and this like PC ethos that it kind of exudes to me, is I always go back to the middle 2000s. And when I see games actually focusing on destruction again, instead of like, how good does the cinematic look? I get super excited because that's like the stuff that got me into gaming technology, like the interactivity of worlds. So this game seems to have it in spades, and that's very exciting.
Yeah, and I think that's the new meta, frankly. I think the new meta is not how shiny is your steel plate, how shiny is the glass, how reflective is the water. I think the ray tracing hype has been, people are frustrated by it and have been for a while, because it just feels like you suffer so many performance degradations for not a whole lot of payoff. At least that's how people feel. I do obviously understand that there's a lot of payoff for dynamic lighting, dynamic scenes. It's really useful for open world games with day-night systems. I get that. But I think a lot of people are like tired of hearing about ray tracing, because it's also paired with DLSS. So it's tied with upscalers, which a lot of players are frustrated by, because usually upscalers are a sign that a game is not properly optimized, and you have to use upscalers to get it to run half decent. That's why it's exciting to hear that they're rendering natively, and then upscalers are on top of that. But I do think the new meta is going to go back to like dynamics, physics sim, cloth sim, destruction, that type of thing. That's what really excites players nowadays, are those dynamics. And I think you'll see a lot more of it in the years to come. It's my big prediction. That's what I'm hoping for. Thank you. I'm sorry I can't read your name because I don't know how to read Japanese, but it says, I'm Japanese and my English isn't very good, but I really enjoy your content. I'm super excited for Crimson Desert. Thank you, my friend. Glad to have you here. Appreciate you, my friend. Glad to have you here. Much love. Much love. Wrapping this up.
I mean, in real life, I also like to pick up giant tree trunks and smash them into the water into pieces. And now we can do it in game. It's great. Yeah. So, another thing, though, in this footage is that there's a lot of long-range shots I noticed. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious, did you get any information about the way they're handling, like, distant lots and such? Because it's something that varies a lot per game, and it's difficult to do right. Obviously, that was a big focus of Nanite from...
Dude, it's crazy to see how all of this changes just with the placement of the sun shifting. Like this forest, beautifully lit, this little like red crimson forest over here, beautiful because the sun is behind us now. I don't know if it's morning or evening, but it's the sun's behind us. But then you go forward and now the sun is about to go behind the mountains and the light is caught here, casting a shadow across the whole landscape. Like, it changes the vibe so much. Even though it's the exact same map, just the time of day and night shifts the look that severely. How cool is that? That's what you get with true dynamic lighting. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. Talk about day-night difference. My goodness. Or early day, late day difference. Doesn't flow off the tongue as well. King Cole, thank you for the 5. Crimson Desert is looking like a godsend game to bring back what good game standards is. Me, don't do that. Don't give me hope. Yeah, well, as I've said for months, okay, for months. So this is not me like giving you a coded message after the preview or something. As I've said for months, no game is perfect. I'm sure there's going to be hiccups and things that they could improve in a sequel and things that, I would like if they changed this. I'm sure parts of it are going to be clunky or difficult to pick up, or the combat's not going to be your favorite. Because that's true of every game. Even like Red Dead 2, fantastic masterpiece of a game. There's still people that point to it and are like, yeah, but the questing is super slow and very 2010-esque, There's always going to be problems with any game, no matter how great it is. I think what makes Crimson Desert exciting is that it seems to just be a refreshing breath of fresh air. That's what I mean. A breath of fresh air in an industry that has been running away from games like this. They run away from games that are really stupid ambitious, that are not built in with tons of monetization. You might get a big, massive game from like a Ubisoft, but it's balanced out with tons of monetization, and it's built in a way to push you towards monetization with like heavy grind and all sorts of stuff like that. You don't tend to see games that are just prioritizing dynamics and quote unquote fun factor with the scope and scale. And you just don't see games like this. You just don't. And that's why it's so exciting and so different. And a lot of people are getting excited for it. And you better believe it's also catching the eye of people within the industry. It is. For example, in the interview we did with Will Powers, and this is what I'll finish it on, then you should absolutely go and watch the full Digital Foundry thing. But in this interview I did with Will Powers, you'll see that there's a timestamp down here. Real quick, this is cool. I just wanted to let you know, Corey Barlog, the one and only from Sony Santa Monica, is in chat and said... Quote, "The game is looking really great. Please pass on my admiration and congratulations for what the team has achieved. Truly cannot wait to get lost in this world."
I love Corey. I don't know if he knows this. We worked together on God of War.
I feel bad. Right as I tell him that, his internet started going out. I felt bad. But even like Corey Barlog was in chat during that interview and was giving them the praise, giving them their flowers, saying he's really excited for it. So people within the industry, people designing and actually doing stuff, are seeing the game, are excited for it, are talking about it. And that's, I think, in general, a good thing. It's important to remember that, these games, they're not in a bubble just with you and me. There's even like the big movers and shakers at studios are seeing these games, seeing how people are reacting to it and are really, really into it. So it's interesting. But either way, tomorrow I will be able to talk about Crimson Desert at length. My goal is to drop the video, go live shortly after. Jacob said the video is ending at like roughly an hour, so I'll have my full preview impression video go up talking about the 6+ hours that I played. Then I will go live, that's the plan at least, and answer any questions. We'll do a full recap live with all of you guys. So if there's questions or clarifications you want, I can answer those and tackle that. And that will be, I think, the last big detailed dump before the review embargo on the 18th. So there might be like a week and a half of silence or less content on Crimson Desert as we lead into it, but we'll see. I don't know this for a fact, but I would imagine they still have things that they're going to reveal, and maybe a launch trailer. Maybe they do like a console performance deep dive or something like that. That wouldn't surprise me. But we should, I think, have a lot to talk about tomorrow, I think. So, yeah. I watch using translation. I'm rooting for you. Oh, thank you, my friend. I'm glad to hear the translation's good. I don't know. I don't know. Why is Pearl Abyss hiding base PS5 performance? Are they? Or are they just gonna drop it and blow you away? Who can say? Does it run like ass? Or are they gonna wait and then slap you upside the head with something that impresses you? You know? You're hungry for something right now. What if they provide you something massive and meaty to chew on? Or maybe they don't talk about it at all. I don't know. I don't know. I don't work there. I don't know. I'm just a guy, dude. I don't know. He took my thing.